2024 is almost behind us. Let's talk about it. Hello heroes and villains, welcome to Multiverse. So 2024 has been a bumpy ride, but just a few more hours and it will be a bad memory. To say the least, 2024 has been a bumpy ride. It started more or less as usual with the anniversary event, but very quickly we came to realize that something was going on because communication was not so good. Already DCO never had the best communication when it came to the devs communicating with us, but early on this year, already the communication was even worse than usual. And then we got the mass layoffs at daybreak, and the communication wasn't so good. After that, communication was pretty much non-existent. There were a few bits of communications here and there, but at this point, we pretty much have to realize that we're not going to get much communication from the devs anymore. It would seem that the new normal is for the devs to communicate with us as little as possible. It's sad, but that seems to be how it is. Early on, the various articles were talking about 70 people being laid off at daybreak, but then later on it was pretty much revealed that it was less than 15. We never really got an actual official number. The closest we got as an official number is less than 15. Why not 13? Why not 12? Why not 14? We don't know. All we really got as information was less than 15. And already DC Universe Online had been struggling to try to fill out their team. Pretty much ever since, not just ever since Jackster left, even before Jackster left, we always knew that they were missing. They had a small team and they were still missing key people in various places. But once Jackster did leave with a whole bunch of devs, holy crap, did that hurt DCO. And they've been trying to get back on track ever since. And sadly, every year for the past 3 years, we've been thinking, okay, this year was bad. Hopefully next year will be better. They'll hire more people. And also, it's not just a matter of hiring more people. It's also training the new people that they hire. As sadly, when you hire new people, it does take some time for people to get used to their new job, to the new studio, to the new environment. Although, depending on if you hire veterans who have a lot of experience, usually it doesn't take as much training as if you hire brand new people who are brand new on the job. From what we understand, a lot of the new hires were people that came from Star Trek Online. Basically, there's a lot of people that left Star Trek Online earlier this year because they already knew that the studio where they worked were going to send the work overseas and they were going to be laid off eventually. So there are some devs who left Star Trek Online to come and work on DC Universe Online. So 2024 would be pretty much the year where the new devs would get their training on DC Universe Online. And it's also where we got pretty much the last content that the older devs did work on for DC Universe Online. From what we understand, the Harley Quinn vs. Apocalypse DLC is pretty much the last thing that the older devs worked on. So with 2025 and moving forward, it should all be done by the new devs. Yes, we're still going to get the older events like the anniversary events or the Halloween seasonal or the summer seasonal that were created by the older devs. But whatever new content we get in 2025, that will be the work of the new devs. So sadly, we're still pretty much in a waiting pattern. We've been waiting pretty much for the past 2-3 years for DC Universe Online to get better. And every turn we thought that, okay, they hired a bunch of new devs, so hopefully things will get better. And then more layoffs would happen. We would have to hire new devs, so we had to wait some more. So we've pretty much been waiting and waiting for things to get better in DC Universe Online for quite some time now. And sadly, we're still waiting. We'll probably have to wait for the next DLC, maybe even the next 2 DLC, before we can actually see what the new devs will create for us. Sadly, at this point, we're going to have to wait and see. Hopefully, we'll get some new announcements soon to let us know what the plans are for 2025. Usually we get a producer's letter in January, although we did get a producer's letter not too long ago. So I'm not sure if we are going to get a producer's letter for January. We may have to wait as long as February, maybe even March before we do get a producer's letter. I hope we will get one in January because people are wondering what's happening with DC Universe Online. But sadly, we don't know at this point when we will get the next producer's letter. And one thing that was added in 2024 is the Creator League. Basically, the devs selected a handful of content creators Actually, they had posted an announcement on Discord, and from there, people had to apply. And from whoever applied, they selected a handful of creators. Some people were not too happy because they never got access to the announcement to begin with, so they were not able to apply for the position. And also, they were not too happy that some of the people that got selected had a very, very small channel with like 5 followers and no content, whereas some other creators with 2,000-3,000 followers with hundreds of videos were not selected. Now, I have no idea why some people were selected and some were not. Some people suggested the idea that they were just taking the bigger content creator like me and Obsidian Chill, but they actually selected also some very small content creators. So why did they select certain creators and not others? We could do a lot of speculation around that, but the truth is, we don't really know. And so far, the only real benefit of being part of the Creator League is so that I can give you codes once in a while. So basically, whenever we get a new event, like when we got the Wonder Woman Day and when we got Batman Day, we got a whole bunch of codes that we could give to you guys. So that is the only real benefit we have right now, thanks to the Creator League, which is in part why I did apply for the Creator League. At first, I wasn't sure if I was going to apply because already there are people who think that I'm a shill. So thanks to the Creator League, now they probably think I'm a super shill. Although, when I thought about it for half a second, I realized that whether I apply for the Creator League or not, people who think I'm a shill are going to think I'm a shill anyway, so it didn't really matter. And at least this way, once in a while, I can get some codes that I can give to you guys, so that alone makes it worth it. Also, something that we had this year is for Batman Day, for Superman Day, and they also brought back Wonder Woman Day. Instead of just being a one-day event like it was in the past, like one day we would get a whole bunch of gifts, they actually turned it into an actual event where we had access to various missions, in the case of Wonder Woman Day, we had access to Wonder Woman related missions. For Batman Day, we had access to Batman Day missions. And for a short while, we could replay those missions as part of some sort of a mini event. Also, something that became clear pretty early on is that it seems that we will always have events. So we'll pretty much get a new event every month, so we'll pretty much always go from one event to the next. Now, that did ruin a bit of my plans at some point. Obviously, I was planning to make a sort of checkmate event, like once a year we would have the official checkmate day, and for that day, or maybe for a week, we would do something special for that time. And I was trying to find a place in the year where there was no event, so that we could have, let's say, checkmate day, or maybe checkmate week. Sadly, seeing how we always have events, I might do something different for checkmate. I might still just do a checkmate day or a checkmate week. I still have to think about it. Although an idea could be also that we could have, let's say, a checkmate day once a month, maybe once a week, where we would actually play a PvP. Like I would put a group of players together, someone else would put a group of players together, and we would play PvP against each other. And we might try to do something like that. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. What say you? Would you like to get a checkmate week once in a while where we'd play some PvP? Or maybe a checkmate day once a month? Let us know in the comment section down below. And of course, in 2024, we got the various monthly rewards. Some of the good rewards I thought were the Vigilante style, even though for some reason we did not get the mask for the Vigilante. Or the Blue Beetle style, where sadly we could not get the right colors on the chest piece. Or even the Red X style, like a lot of people were happy to get a Red X, an official Red X mask. Sadly, one of the things people didn't like is that people would have wanted a slimline mask like the character had in the cartoon, as opposed to the sort of hockey mask that we got. Personally, I kind of like the mask we got, but some people would have preferred a slimline mask. And sadly, as usual, the devs are like the monkey's paw. Even when they give us what we want, like when they give us the Vigilante style, somehow they did not give us the Vigilante mask. When they give us the Blue Beetle style, somehow we could not get the right colors on the chest piece. And again, for the Red X mask, people would have wanted a slimline mask as opposed to what we got. But sadly, there were also some less inspired rewards, like the Mad Hatter hat. Sometimes you have to ask, who asked for this style? The obvious answer is no one. Sadly, there seems to be a disconnect between what the devs think is cool and what the player base think is cool. And it seems to be a pretty big disconnect at this point. Also, it felt like it was a reward they came up maybe for the St. Patrick's seasonal or for the spring seasonal, and that they turned this reward into a daily reward at the very last second. And they did the same thing with the Shroom hat. Way back when we got the Shroom hat, which obviously was a reward for the Halloween seasonal, that they turned into a 21-day reward, as if they did not have the time to come up with a proper 21-day reward. So is it what happened with the Mad Hatter hat? We'll never know, I guess. But overall, the daily rewards are pretty much a mixed bag. Sometimes we get something cool, sometimes we get something not so cool. Oh well. And one of the things we got this year is the Superman lair. And it's something we've been asking for years and years and years. Pretty much ever since we got the lair system added to the game, people have been asking for a Sunstone Fortress lair or a Superman lair. And it took roughly 10 years before we finally got what we were asking for. And it was a bit of a bumpy ride. There were a few issues at first when we did get the lair. Sadly, the person who was in charge of the lair was Ocean way back when. And seeing how Ocean is gone, it would seem that they may not have someone who can actually create new lairs just yet. And even just adding the lair that was already mostly created by Ocean, that did create a whole bunch of issues. So sadly, at this point, we did get the Superman lair, which is awesome. Sadly, it may take a while before we actually get some more lairs, because odds are they probably don't have anyone like Ocean right now who can come up with some new lairs. It's sad, but that seems to be how it is. Although I'm hoping to be wrong, I'm hoping that someone else on the team was able to pick up the ball and start creating some new lairs. Sadly, seeing how we did not get any words about a future lair since we got the Superman lair, I would say that they may not have someone on the team just yet who can create some new lairs. And 2024 is when we did get the official PlayStation 5 client, and sadly, it pretty much broke the game. It freaking broke the game. Afterwards, the game was pretty much unplayable, the frame rate was horrible, the game would crash, and a whole bunch of other issues. Also, we saw the return of some chat issues that we hadn't seen for years and years, so it was not good. And you may have noticed when we did get the Brainiac Return DLC, I did not play the content all that much because sadly the content was freaking broken. Again, the frame rate was horrible, the game would crash, so I would just not play the content when that was the case. When something is broken, I just don't play it. I put it aside and I go do something else. Sadly, you could not decide to go play some other missions because the frame rate would happen also in other missions. It would also, the crashes would happen no matter what missions you would play. So it pretty much made DCO almost unplayable for a while. And I know that there are some people who say that they should have delayed the DLC, they should have delayed the content. Not really, because first, a lot of the issues were not really because of the DLC. A lot of the crashes and frame rates, the bad frame rate happened even before the DLC. It just got worse when we did get the DLC. But also, even a month after they gave us the DLC, we still had those issues. Those issues were still not fixed. So that would have meant delaying the DLC by at least a month, maybe more, before they actually would fix whatever issues there was. And also, there's nothing saying that delaying the DLC would have fixed anything. For all we know, they would have delayed the DLC by 1 month, and 1 month later, we would have had the same issues. So, if you are wondering why I did not play DCO all that much when we did get the Brainiac Return DLC, quite simply, I was waiting for them to fix the game. Although, even later on, when we did get the Summer Seasonal, I barely played just a few times in the month of August. I barely played the Summer Seasonal. And even afterwards, when we did get the Harley Quinn vs. Apocalypse DLC, I barely played that DLC because, to be honest, I don't like the DLC very much. And on top of that, there were a few weeks where I was sick, so I pretty much missed out on Halloween and the Wonder Woman seasonal. So 2024 is probably the year where I played DC Universe Online the less in a long time. Now, does that mean that DC Universe Online sucks? Does that mean that DC Universe Online is dead? Not at all. DC Universe Online is a great game. It's pretty much the best superhero game we have out there. Yeah, I know a lot of people will prefer Marvel Rivals, but at the end of the day, Marvel Rivals is a PvP game. With DC Universe Online, it is a PvE game. You can create pretty much any character you want. You can create your very own character, or you can create iconic characters if you want to. And you have a pretty big world to explore, and you have hundreds of missions to play if you want to. DC Universe Online is a great game. Sadly, 2024 was a bad year for DC Universe Online. There's no other way to say it. So hopefully 2025 will be better. Sadly, we've been saying that for the past 3 years by now. We've had years that were, let's say, not so good. And at the end of pretty much every year for the past 3 years, we've been saying, okay, this year wasn't so great. Hopefully next year will be better. Let's hope that this year it turns out to be true. So at this point, we pretty much have some new devs. They seem to have some big plans for DC Universe Online in 2025. So hopefully they will make DC Universe Online great again. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. Also in 2024, I did play a DC game called DC Dark Legion. I even made some content about that game. I didn't make too much content because sadly, even at this point, we don't even know when the game will go live just yet. So whenever I would talk about that game and make videos about that game, some of you guys would try to download the game. You were not able to download it because right now it is in early access, and there's no words just yet as when will this game be available. Also, I did not talk about the game so much because at some point they had mentioned that they were done trying to quote-unquote change the game or upgrade the game. So this was going to be the game, the build that we would have from now on. Although somehow at some point this changed and they decided to come up with a new build for the game. And sadly, at the end of December, so I had to download the new build. For some reason, I was not able to download the new build. And then when I finally was able to download the new build, when I tried to start the game, I had a message saying that they had the maximum amount of people they needed at that point for the early access. So sadly, I cannot even play the game at this time. So talking about a game that's in early access, where we don't even know when the game will launch for everyone, and a game that people cannot even download, or if they can download it, they still cannot even play it, I'm not sure we're going to talk about this game anytime soon. Maybe once the game finally launches for everyone, maybe I'll start making videos about it. I guess we're going to have to wait and see for that. So there we go, guys. So 2024 is finally behind us. 2024 was a bumpy ride. Hopefully 2025 will be much better. We're going to have to wait and see for that.